Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, folks. It is Sunday, August 1st. Wow, can you believe it's already August? I can't believe it. But we have the one and only and legendary investor and top 1% agent in Arizona, Laura Morby, with us this morning. How you doing, Laura?
I'm doing great. How are you doing?
I'm doing well. I got to tell you, when the video turned on, I'm like, oh, Laura's going golfing today. That's just what I thought when I looked at your outfit.
Oh, I wish. It's way too hot. I
Oh,
would
is it way
just
too
out
hot?
there and just sweat, you know. I'm not a summer golfer. I know that means I'm probably not a golfer,
Yeah.
But my gosh, I don't enjoy it.
Yeah, it's just too hot. It's just
Mm-mm.
not enjoyable, right? I gotcha. Well, hey, Laura, one of the things I wanted to talk about with you is actually probably the most common Facebook post I see from agents, Facebook, bigger pockets, whatever you want to call it. And it goes something like this: new investor, never done a deal, gets the real estate bug, goes to an event, goes to YouTube University, whatever it is. And then they say, hi, I'm so-and-so from so-and-so city. I am looking for an investor-friendly agent. I just, that question or comment, I got to tell you, bugs me. But as an agent, a top 1% agent, I thought I'd ask you first.
When I hear that, I kind of do want to laugh because it's not like a realtor is going to turn anything down.
Exactly.
That's like my version of that is when people ask me, oh, what area do you work in? As if any realtor is going to turn away a buyer or a listing in a city or a town that they don't usually frequent or they don't currently live.
Yeah.
Money's money, like, and people who like think they specialize, like really don't, you get the Scottsdale agents and then you see that all they do is business in Avondale and you're like, okay,
Come
you
on.
want to just do Scottsdale, but you're not turning away business on the west side. So I think that any agent would happily take on any investor just because it's money.
Mhm.
But I do have to say that I have run into quite a few realtors who do not understand the investor world, or they think that stuff that's going on is a threat to them and their business, so they hate it.
Mhm.
And they purposely try to destroy deals, or they think it's illegal. So there are people to stay away from, like you don't want to go try to win over some realtor who thinks that you can't do a lease option because they don't like that you do that, or they think it's illegal. Or you don't want to go work with someone who has no idea what they're doing. So that being said, doesn't mean that you can't find an agent who doesn't know those things, who wouldn't want to learn, but do you want to be the one who teaches them? And do you want to be the one who, deals with them not knowing, because they're representing you. Like if whatever you're doing that needs to involve a realtor, you cannot directly talk to the other side. You have to do it through them. Mm-hmm. So more important than that, and I know everyone deserves a chance to learn. I'm not saying that no one ever gave me a shot to learn the investor side. But I was with another agent who already was involved. So it's not like someone got me and I didn't know anything and someone had to teach me. So I think that's important, is having someone who's familiar with the investor world, have an agent that doesn't think that what you're doing is illegal. Have an agent that's not threatened by investors. And why they're threatened, if anyone's confused, like why would an agent be threatened by an investor? They think that their education, their level of expertise, that they should be the only ones who are allowed to write contracts, them or attorneys. And they should be they should be involved in everything. Mm-hmm. And if you're an investor and you're going out and you're doing real estate without a license, that is illegal and it's a threat to them, because now they're not involved, so they're not making money. Mm-hmm. Same reason why every agent is like terrified of Zillow when they started doing offers to people, and Zillow's going to ruin our business and there won't be real estate agents. That was the conversation that was going on. there won't be agents. And it's like, you know, for certain things, there will always be agents probably. So that's why that's why they don't like you. And so why go after an agent like that? Just stay away from them.
Yeah.
So
The big thing for me is, you know, you just naturally sit back and think the investor agent relationship should be symbiotic. It should be a two-way street. You both should get equal benefits out of that. But you have to realize that, you know, the real estate agent has a finite set of time, right? And they are only paid at closing, right? You do, I mean, agents do lots of work for weeks, months, quarters, years sometimes before seeing the fruits of their labor, right? So one of the things that I think is paramount in that relationship is that first phone call. And if it's not the first phone call, certainly the second one is where both parties need to talk about expectations. You know, we'll talk about probably in episode number 3, what I call the buy box, but you need to be, I think you need to, the investor, here's the big thing for me is most of the time when I hear investor friendly agent, the investor wants to take all responsibility for finding a deal and they want to throw it at the agent. That is irresponsible, stupid, dangerous. I mean, it's all kinds of wrong. You're the investor. They're a service broker bureau. They're part of the process. They're awesome at what they do. But if you shuck the responsibility for finding a deal, that's on you. And, you know, stop that.
yeah, of course. Yeah. I mean, I've had people try to get me to like send them deals and stuff. And, you know, I will, of course, you know, but you know, you usually run into like, as an agent though, unless someone's like really specific about what they want and I can look for that.
Yeah, exactly.
I'll know who, you know, which ones out of my investors are going to perform on what. Like the other day I saw one that had a tenant in there through October. It wasn't at a bad rental rate, but you have to have an investor who isn't going to get hard money on the house, because if they're going to get hard money, they can't afford that no matter what the tenant's paying, because it's never going to be enough to cover that hard money payment. And through October, you know, for a month maybe, but through October, that's kind of a long time. So you have to have someone who's got cash, or they're refining out like other properties. They've got a line of credit. They've got something going on to where they can buy that house at a better rate. And so I knew who that was and I knew who to send it to. So that's like kind of the funny thing too, is like, you know, I might meet a newbie investor and they're like, send me a deal. And I'm like, you know, when push comes to shove, like, I don't know what you want if you haven't told me, and I don't know if you're going to perform. And that's the hard thing too, is like, I committed to a deal like about 2 weeks ago because I'm not going to make a penny on it. I didn't like mark it up or anything, but I found a deal and I sent it to an investor. They told me they wanted it. And then now I'm on the hook because I'm the one who committed to it. Right. Even though I told them to contract directly together. So they're contracted together, but just because I'm the one who brought them to the table, won't say who it is, but they weren't performing on Friday. They weren't closing. And they were not communicating, and they were being super shady. And it actually made me incredibly mad, like really mad. And then I told them, I'm like, I'm not going to like bring you deals anymore. Yeah. And then that made them mad. But I was like, no, like, if you're not going to perform, like, you're making me look like an idiot. You look like an idiot. And not only that, but like, think about where the deal came from. Think about the person who originally contracted the seller. The seller moved out last night. They're expecting to close today. Like, there's just like a whole line of people that, because no one on your team can pick up the phone and say what you're doing. And you guys knew probably dang well you need an extension on Monday, but no one did it. So yeah, it's stuff like that where you're just like, hey, and that's the reason why it's hard for me as like an agent to be like with a new person who I don't know what they exactly want, or how they're going to buy or what they're going to do with it, for me to be able to make that decision to be like, hey, here's a deal, because at the end of the day, it does come back on me. So it's like, it's hard.
Yeah. There's a couple of things you said in there I want to hit again.
Sure.
I've had people, because I'm known in one market, right? And occasionally others come to that market, maybe because of what I said, or maybe they were there already. I don't know. But they're like, hey, Michael, if you ever find a deal that you don't close on, I want it. I hate that. I'm like, I mean, first off, you think there's a deal, like if I find a deal, you think I'm going to walk away because I can't close on it? I mean, really? That's where we're at in this conversation?
Yeah.
But just because I think it's a deal doesn't mean you think it's a deal, right? We may have different decisions. I might have the ability to buy and hold. I might be able to 1031. I mean, I have a lot of options. The newbie investor is like, I hate that. I hate that phrase. I just want a deal.
Yeah.
I mean, I can't do anything with that. I mean, basically you're telling me you want to overpay. That's what you're telling me. Yeah, it's crazy. So people need to figure out their buy box and do the work. And again, too many times new investors shuck responsibility and put it on the agent. I can't tell you how many times people go, hey, I got an agent. They're working for me. Right. I'm like, you only know one agent in this city? Really? One? I mean, you should know dozens.
Yeah. Yes, absolutely. And if you think about it, like the people who've been in the business for a long time, like Jamil Damji, for instance, here in Arizona, he doesn't know one agent. He knows hundreds, you know, and he knows them for different things, and they know him for different things, and they know that he can perform. So like, for instance, he has a relationship with one agent, and part of her listing protocol is she offers people a cash offer. And if they say yes, she lets him be the one to do it.
Okay.
And he pays her. And she's fantastic and she's really successful. And it works like super well for her, because it's another, you know, sometimes you go to a listing appointment and, you know, the house is just in totally bad shape and no one will ever be able to finance it. Or you've got a seller who's like, well, I need to stay until the end of the year. And you're like, hey, no retail buyer is going to do that for you. And you can start to kind of pick up on these things where you're like, hey, maybe a cash offer would work. But if you don't know those cues, you don't know, like as an agent, if you don't know that that's a thing, that should be part of your toolbox. So like an agent too, having an investor that she can rely on, she can rely on, is huge too. So like think about her business. Like now, instead of being like, hey, I can't do that, like we can't, or like having a listing that she knows she can't make that person's needs met, she actually can meet those needs. And she has someone she trusts who she knows is going to give them, you know, a decent offer, not take advantage of them, and close. So yeah.
The biggest thing I want to stress in this relationship, besides getting your buy box right, don't you ever call me and say, I just want a deal. That's a red flag, right? Get specific.
Yeah.
The biggest thing you need to talk about in that first or that second conversation is what I'll call service level agreements, or whatever you want to call that. But basically, what are the expectations from both parties, right? For example, if you're the investor and you find a deal on the MLS or whatever it is, and you send it to the agent, most of the time, they're not going to reply in 5 minutes, right? Just because you're urgent doesn't mean they don't have other stuff going on. So talk about it. What's the is it 8 hours? Is it 16? Is it 60? What are your expectations for time? And it should go both ways, right? If the agent does their job and finds a listing for the investor, what are the expectations? And then the big rule I had always when I was managing sales folks is everybody gets one mistake or one failure, but not two, right? Then if it happens again, certainly in a short period, I'm done. I'll go somewhere else, right? There's a lot of agents in Arizona, for example, I'm guessing. Yeah. So what do you think about that? Kind of a talk about expectations.
I mean, I think that you hit the nail on the head, and I think that that's something that goes for all relationships, and something that I find incredibly frustrating that no one seems to do with like romantic relationships. No one does that, and it bugs me. But Pace and I we did it on our first date.
Oh, wow.
And he was like, I've been married before. This is what I want. If this is you, cool. If it's not, whatever. And I was like, cool, I have a child and this is what I want. And like, if this is cool, whatever. And what's funny is I had done that previously with people I was dating. I was like, hey, look, I have a child and like, I do want to get married and I want to have more. And if like, that's not you right now, it's totally cool. Let's have fun until it's not fun anymore. And then let's move on. And I was happy to move on, but I have so many people I know that are like not moving on and they're staying in these bad relationships. Yeah. And then they expect the other person to know what they want, and they haven't said
they didn't tell them.
I'm the mind reader here, so you gotta tell them. So if it works in romantic relationships, it first like you're gonna start making money together. I don't care if it's investor and realtor, anything. If you're gonna partner on a deal, you need to have a conversation on what you expect, what you want the other person to bring. This is so funny because I actually recorded a segment and I have a little course come out, but this was something that I like touched on. I was like, you need to talk about like who's responsible for what and what you expect out of them.
Absolutely.
What you're going to bring to the table, what they can expect from you. Because my gosh, I can't tell you how many people where you listen to somebody have an argument. Like for instance, wholesaler, he brought a deal to somebody and he was telling me how much he hates this person in town because this person was supposed to pay him 30 grand or something like that. And then in my head, I was like, once the deal was closed, like once he flipped it and once it was closed. And I was like, I could think about a million reasons why that person might not pay him 30 grand. Like maybe it was a crap deal. Maybe he held on to it for too long. Maybe he had to pull permits. Maybe he ended up with a terrible inspection. And it's just, like, should this person be mad who got shorted 30 grand? Absolutely. But also this person, like, why didn't you communicate any of that? Or why didn't you have some sort of agreement in writing where it's like, hey, I will pay you 30 grand if these things are met. But if I'm losing 10K, I'm not paying you 30 grand.
Right.
Or if like, like it should be way more thought out. And then also when this person was going through their flip, and as they were like, wow, we opened up the walls and we're actually going to have to do this and this and this, and our cast iron pipe is collapsed and there should be a new AC unit, like all that stuff that potentially could have been going on. Why don't you tell that person that's expecting to make 30 grand, like, hey, we just opened up the walls and this is way more involved than we thought it was. I'll let you know. Hey, we were planning on spending 50 on this project. We spent 110, telling that person why rather than just
no surprises,
so like when you hear those things you're like, oh, you guys aren't communicating. And there was no clear expectations when you started this. It was just like, oh yeah, I'll pay 30K, and then like who knows what happened.
Again, folks, if you're watching this and you're the investor, and again, I see it all the time, I want an investor friendly agent. You need to take responsibility for communicating what you're looking for, time level agreements. And please don't shuck your responsibility. I don't want to hear you say, I found the agent in this state, this city, and I'm just waiting. No, just because you have an agent doesn't mean your job's done. Keep doing the work. You own the responsibility. It's your wealth, your cash flow. Don't stop. Is that fair?
100%. And also, if you're the investor, something on my side that is pretty fresh in my mind, because it's just Friday. You commit to something, you need to perform, because there's multiple people with multiple relationships, including multiple levels of that, all the way back to the seller, maybe even a tenant, that you're just messing stuff up, and then that realtor won't want to send you something anymore. So
lives are being disrupted.
So like in like a normal retail transaction, you can back out for various plethora of reasons. But when you're doing like wholesale investor, direct to seller, if you commit, like it's a little old school, but if you commit, like you have to perform. And if you don't, like it's a big no-no. And it's a big no-no for everyone involved. And then it becomes like, I made a big no-no too. So.
Very cool, Laura. If somebody wants to get involved or maybe buy or sell in Arizona, how do you want them to reach out?
They can call me, my phone number, or text 480-717-2070, or my Instagram is Laura Morby.
Follow her on Instagram, because if you just want to smile once a day, she puts out these adorable posts. So thank you for all you do, Laura.
Thank you.